Hello everyone, and you're probably wondering what this is about. Well, I will go ahead and just straight up tell you. In my years as a role player and as a person who loves the stories that video games bring me, I've always wanted to create my own, and from time to time I've written a few things and I've role played a few things in MMOs and the like. And I once decided that a D&D campaign would probably be the best. I never have done a D&D campaign, or I should say at least led a D&D campaign. I have participated in at least one, but one that I was suggested to come into, and I didn't find interest in it somehow. And we eventually split off anyway. The group was at its dying breath, unfortunately. So it was a horrible time for me to come in. Either way, I've always wanted to do D&D. So I decided to create my own campaign, and I decided to use a world that I had previously created. And with that, it allows me to already have a foundation of exactly what world I'm putting people in. I know the world. I don't know the world that the rule book of what D&D system I'm using puts us in. I don't know that world. I know my world. So, the system we're going to be using is 13th Age, because I found out that it is a reliable, easy to use, easy to understand, D&D system, and we're going to be using my own custom world that I've written for about 5 months now. It's a slow process, especially the beginning, and it's going to be 200 years ahead of the time that I'm currently writing, should any of you be wondering about that. And I've already got the players going, and we've already got through some stuff. Unfortunately, I lost that recording, so you guys won't see that. If you do see any of it, it'll probably be the intro, and that's all I can promise. We were not able to get through the whole thing without a recording going off, but the second session went off without a hitch. Hopefully, I assume. Well, I can't assume, I've recorded it, so I know it went off without a hitch. Either way, I'm just blabbering here. What I want to do with this campaign is I want to see how I put people that I know into something they've never done before, and see how they react to a world they've never been in. Of course, OOC, I'll let them know stuff and the stuff, but their characters, of course, know the world. But OOC as well, they don't know what they're going through. They don't know what they're encountering. They don't know exactly what is what in this world unless I tell them what is what in this world. So it's definitely going to be interesting for them, and it's going to be interesting for me, because I've never led a D&D campaign, let alone participate in one. So it's going to be fun. The world is called the World of Leo, if you're wondering. It's based off the series that I'm writing, which is known as the Legends of Sovereign. So, to simply put, this campaign will be called the Legends of Sovereign, with the little dash marks, heroes, the hero party, or something fancy, or probably something not fancy. I don't know. I'll fucking make up my mind later. Either way, we're gonna have fun with it. And it's already been a lot of fun. I can promise you that. It's been loads of fun. Depending on how things go, it might be long, it might be short. But we will see. We will see. So that's pretty much all I can go into right now about the world. It will show up on YouTube. I've yet to be able to make a stream work to where I'm streaming it. I'll let you guys know when that works out and what days we'll be doing it, because our days are random when we're doing it so far. Besides this announcement, I am going to let you guys know about the world. Because I had to write all about the world and go 200 years past what I already know. So, without further ado, I'm going to read it as an elderly gentleman who is explaining all of this to you, whether it be in a book or whether it be in person. More than likely in person. So without further ado, here we go. Even as we grow, the myths of legend remain fascinating, especially to our children. The favorite has always been that of our birth. A long time ago, the four gods created our world. They created the land and the sea. Animals flourished in their habitats and lived happily. Unfortunately, our world was dull to the gods, agreeing that each god make their own person. Our four races were created. The race created by God Kazalin were the humans. Another god by the name of Severak created the elves. Both of these races were given the ability to use magic and knowledge, but only if they had the mental aptitude for it. The third race, known as Bestials, were crafted by God Fair. They were considered abominations in our early days, but we soon decided to accept them. These bestials took man-like statures, but looked like any other creature that could survive on land. It's rumored that there still exists a tribe of water bestials, but it's nothing but a fairy tale. Now, the god Xerx, the fourth god, was rather demented, and wanted a world to control, all of his own. How he planned it, he needed to create his own race, but have them looked upon as dark and demented as he was. They are respectfully called demons due to the fact that we have no creatures to call demons besides them. These demons and their demonic nature almost seemed reminiscent of the fabled hell we are led to believe still holds evil beings that died. These races soon began to bicker and fight, harming others with their abilities. Without even a single word, these races separated, taking up their own territories. They claimed large land masses for the world. A massive place. The land named Lagal was created by the elves. It was a strong society that lived both on the ground and in the trees that surrounded them. The land named Nist was claimed by the bestials. It had tight communities with stone houses and a strong military that was established rather quickly. Gil was named by the human population and took up stone and wood crafting. The society became a rather peaceful one, and their plans of the future replicated with the elves' own plan. Where the demons ran off to was the land of Ilsa. It had a nice forested area until factions within the race fought for power, turning it into a land of darkness, turning the trees black as ash and the ground became charred. Their communities were crafted with their own demonic powers, abusing it to fulfill their building desires. Fortunately, By doing this, they became unable to reach, as a magical barrier then surrounded these creatures. Many suspected this to be the doing of the gods to protect the rest of the world from their destruction. Only a few demons had the ability to roam out of their territory, but it soon turned out that not many of them wanted to leave and explore our world. As years passed, and the communities began to thrive and learn, the humans and elves wrote up a document requesting the assistance of bestials and demons to build a city. The city was intended to be a safeguard for all races to convene and talk. It even had plans for a 5-member council that would lead the city and aid communities free of the independent races' territories. The demons blatantly disagreed, refusing the request. They knew that only they would become the superpower of the world. Bestials, on the other hand, looked over the document given to them and decided to consider the request. They demanded its signing to be on neutral ground, which humans and elves gladly agreed to, but it was a trap. The humans and elves met at the intended spot with not a single bestial to greet them. Without warning, they were attacked by demons who had gained the ability of flight, shooting balls of dark energy at the peaceful people. Then a horde of bestials unleashed themselves upon the battle, striking down the humans and elves with iron weaponry and their animalistic abilities. Driving off the remaining forces, and it appeared that the demons and bestials had formed an alliance. The greeting of dark energy and steel swords was soon reported to both communities, forcing both to go in an uproar. War was demanded, and it was sure given as the best soldiers and mages geared up and went to battle against their new foes. Battles occurred all over the entire world, but it was apparent that the demons had the upper hand, so they pushed back the human and elf forces to their respective territories, on the brink of losing their most divine creations. Savarok and Kazalin began to think of a way to help their people until they found the issue. During their investigation, they secretly learned that Xerx had cast a curse upon the race of bestials to be controlled by him as well as his own race. Along with Fair, the 3 gods sent Xerx from the mantle of the gods to oblivion, where he would remain for eternity. The gods used all their power to lift the curse, which soon sent them into eternal slumber. With the curse gone, and the bestials turned. The bestials turned on their demon masters. The strength and courage of the beasts was soon recorded and was recognized as a threat, for the demons were driven back with a long push into their own territory. With no other race having the ability to enter Ilsa, mages put powerful seals on the land, forcing no one to ever leave, and any who entered was doomed to stay. The beasts soon gave up their strength to the humans and elves, giving them an unconditional surrender. On the brink of extinction, humans and elves looked at the bestials with a close eye, with hardly any attempt to be sympathetic. Although welcome to help build their community after such a long delay, they would be given free, limited rights in the land. Soon the city known as Sovereign went under construction. The bestials were put to harsh physical tests during those years, and no sign of demons ever appeared, holding true that the seals had worked. Once completed, Sovereign became a bustling city, and the birth of our beloved council went underway. It was decreed that 3 humans and 2 elves would be appointed every 50 years. Many decrees over 1,000 years were made by this council. One of them barred any land devastated by the previous war would be considered dangerous, and that everyone should travel there with caution, for they knew not what horrors still remained. Another rule made was that any mage that could create fire was forbidden from its use due to its destructive nature. We were unsure of what this meant. It was possible that fire was a magic power that was used a lot during the Extinction War, and many feared that it would be used again to start another war. As the years continued on, though, a hidden darkness began to rise in the shadows. Peace and happiness was shattered, with dark beings attacking caravans, raiding towns at night, and even attacking families. These evil and mysterious creatures were rumored to be Xerxes' last creation before his banishment, meant to unleash hell upon the world if his first plan did not succeed. Even with such ridiculous rumors, the council made a brave decision. It ordered that each town and city have its own adventurer clan. Even corrupted men and women in power agreed to this decision, fearing their positions would be threatened if they ignored such an act. Even each race of their own country decided to put this rule into effect, having multiple adventurer clans. And from that point on, fighters from each territory, or more certainly from sovereign, joined their respective clans and decided to bring the fight to the monsters. Humans, elves, and bestials began to team up and fight back the darkness. Fighters powerful enough to take on the creatures themselves were called elitists, and they were given special missions, some of them taking them off the mainland. However, the monsters grew stronger with every passing year. It was assumed that the clans would crumble under the weight of the pressure. But then came the first. The first was a legend that we never saw coming, but we were glad he showed up. The first led their allies and friends with a sword and a torch into the darkness to bring back peace. The fight they put up was legendary, but that story is not one I can go into too much depth with. The legends of the second and third are still fresh in our mind, but it has been 200 years since the first saved the city of Sappho. I should say, since the legends came about, 200 years has passed, and the kingdom of Legal has split in two, creating a separate kingdom, the Drow elves named Omar. There has also been the discovery of dwarves behind the bestial kingdom of Nist, calling themselves the kingdom of Makoth. For as long as we've known them, they've known about us for centuries longer. For as long as the elves have been skilled in arcane magic, the dwarves have been master craftsmen, forging their weapons from steel and iron better than any human could have made. Of course, the dwarves ignore the existence of our gods, which makes social conversation awkward at best. With the barrier over Ilsa gone, demons became more frequent, even in Sovereign. Trade began to skyrocket. The adventurer clans disbanded after the successful destruction of the cult of Lien, and the statues of the first, second, and third were brought to sanctuary and raised high, sitting atop the council building. But alas, there several important I must discuss if you are to roam about this world, my child. The first being the older council member, AutoSave. Yes, this is son of Baal-Savi the first. He rules the council with a keen eye and a small fist, having disbanded previous laws across the land and ensuring peace and prosperity of the entire world around him. AutoSave seeks to ensure that peace will always remain, even if he must someday hurt others to do so. His young age makes the other council members overlook some of his demands, but they see a lot of potential. As for his knowledge of the rest of the world, he sees each kingdom as a separate person and discusses with each in just that manner. Although this makes negotiations easier for implications of new laws, he is looked at as naive by the other rulers, even with his extensive knowledge on magic. The ruler of Gil, Henry Gil, is a direct descendant of the Gil family. Unlike Kale, he uses an iron fist to rule his kingdom. The people have lost almost all respect for him, and there are rumors that he does deals with mercenaries scouting out the other kingdoms. He has led his armies against hordes of monsters before, but in his old age, several people who have met the king look at him as weak and fragile, as if he lost his strength. He was known to defend his people with a fantastic greatsword named Galvin, but it has gathered up dust in the past years. He lives extravagantly for a king, and his tastes are most similar to that of the High Elves. The next ruler is that of Chancellor Nist, the Fox Bestial Daria. Her rule started almost 15 years ago, and so far she has changed the way the provings work, as well as making a law enforcing the creation of hunting parties to protect the cities and towns. Her devotion to her people is similar to that of King Henry Gears when he first began, but her devotion is to that of making her kingdom safe and well protected. Those who have traveled to the Nist Kingdom have commented about how the entire kingdom is almost like a fortified landmass, prepared to take on all opposition. Rumor has it, the Chancellor is preparing for open war with the other kingdoms, but her quiet home and fascination of literature only wishes to say that she defends her people, and nothing more. The Elf King of the current time is that of King Venmont. The Elven King lives unlike the rest of the High Elves that would normally rule over the Wood Elves. He lives as a common elf, albeit he still lives in his elegant throne room and castle, but he does labor work just like all the other elves, no matter how many times his assistants try to pull him away. Although he is respected, he is not the most literate of kings, and oftentimes has negotiators in his stead while dealing with other kingdoms. The other elf kingdom is ruled by Drow Queen Juniper. Her violence toward the lesser people of her kingdom is noticed, but they obey her command nonetheless. Visitors who have entered the kingdom came back with thoughts of never returning. The Drow were known for the high usage of dark magic and the devotion to a single leader, sometimes believing the single leader was as powerful as a god. Juniper has made it so, ruling atop the high cliff city Euless. Her obsession with dark magic has made her a powerful wizard, and some believe she is even capable of crippling armies. Although there is speculation, there is an actual ruler. The territory known as Ilsa is just a free city as sovereign is, but without the nice land. Its ash ground and dead trees seems somewhat foreboding to most, but even every new face in the territory is greeted by the same demon ambassador named Gish Katron. It's hard for most to pronounce, but he is simply called Gish. It is believed he is their ruler, but no one is truly certain. The dwarves, on the other hand, reside in their clockwork cities, mining day in and day out, watched over by the one-eyed dwarf king Lunas. The Dwarven Kingdom creates many weapons, armors, jewelry, and more. They are a hearty bunch, and even more hearty and friendly when drunk. Well, most of them are, anyway. The mountains live near where rich resources and treasures belong, and King Lunas believes that the mountains hold ancient ruins with grand treasures. I should say that each community looks upon each other differently from most, and it is assumed they all look upon each other as neutral, and most of the support comes from the Free Council of Sovereign. The Council of Sovereign rules over the city named Sovereign, previously named Sanctuary. The name has changed several times throughout its years, and are looked to as the big brother of the four original kingdoms. Even the demons admit that the council has its uses, but that can mean bad things as well as good. Life in Sovereign is fairly normal. Merchants with high quality or decent goods. Labor work can be found just about anywhere, and there's no poor district, at least not normally. That doesn't mean life in Sovereign is easy. The threat of monsters is constant, and on rare occasions they can break through the main outposts and wreak havoc upon nearby farms and villages under the council's protection. The kingdom of Gil is known to resort to isolation. At least that's how it's been for the past 20 years, when the monster population grew less in their neck of the woods. As far as diplomacy goes, the king rarely ever moves from his castle, sending diplomats, and instead, when it concerns the council half the time, he never sends anyone, and leaves the council to dry. Life in Gil is simple for most, and some cities have the misfortune to be run by corrupt barons who have gangs that take to the streets. The chaos is constant, and most believe the king just ignores all of his citizens. Legal is known to send many diplomats to the council, always with new ideas or improvements, which are normally overseen by the elder council member, Kale. Their trade with other kingdoms is constant and full of life, especially with the dwarves and their rich metals. Some of their cities have been rebuilt from the ground up with sparkling buildings made of pure gold or silver. As for the life of its citizens, several people are hunters, constantly searching the forest for deer, rabbits, or other worthwhile hunts. Should they encounter monsters in the Elamiri forest, the king has been known to send his personal guards to ensure the safety of the hunters, no matter their role in his kingdom. The forest is sacred to them, and most who worship the god Savrik will meditate in the center of the forest for days, accepting life and death, should either come for them. I should mention that it's rare to see dark elves in the kingdom of Legal, simply due to the split that happened 100 years ago. The dark elf community is known to be brutal at best. Half of its citizens are poor and mistreated, while several of the high-end cities won't even accept you unless you pay ridiculous amounts of about 300 gold. Those cities don't ever allow refugees in, and lower-class cities on the border of Ombar are too weak to defend themselves from monster attacks, so it has been recently established that gods from Sovereign will and protect the low-class cities. Although many hope for it, none of the barons or mayors of their cities look at them as if they're becoming prosperous with trade inside their own walls. The kingdom of Nist is full of many bestials who do tons of labor work, merchanting, and some have even tried to learn magic, but it is exceptionally rare to see a bestial as skilled as a mage. Their proving arenas bring in a lot of coin and help kill several monsters in the process. Unfortunately, this is at the cost of their young, for it is a test of maturity. It allows the boys to become men and the girls to become women. It is also to determine the job they have, depending on the skills they use on the battle and how effectively they kill their opponent. In summertime, the proving arenas not only hold provings but duels to the death. Several champions have been crowned, but those who have been named champion of all the provings in each city is moved to receive a special banquet with the chancellor themselves. The Demon Kingdom Ilsa is a simple kingdom at best, with no politics and a community based on the phrase, "What's yours is mine." The demons share everything and look at each other as demonic brothers and sisters. Their reproduction is a sheer mystery to most of our archivists, and they have yet to find out what difference they have between the humans and other races. Then, besides their one or two hard purple scaled limbs, I met a demon once who was entirely covered in the hard purple scales, and assumed he was the leader, but before Giskatrol could tell me otherwise, I was flung across a table. I won't be making that mistake again. I should mention, though, that besides the shared communities and cities, the main city, Dementia, of course they had to name it Dementia, was a 20-foot statue of a female wood elf. When I asked about the statue, I was simply told that the person responsible for the current existence of the demons, me and my peers, assume that the demons no longer worship the gods that created them, Zerks, and assume that they now worship that statue of the female wood elf, which we believe is the second. The dwarves on the last kingdom to talk about, the dwarven kingdom, Björ, is known to eat, mine, drink, and sleep, never in the same order as the previous day, I've been told. They constantly mine and have a knack for haggling and make sure the things they buy are at the price they request. With their tight communities and love for ale, the dwarves are almost easy to get along with, and even easier to make angry should you say something offensive. Their love for magical items is also of note, and almost every time I go there, they look at me suspiciously, as if I treat my notebook with disrespect. Of course, there are many more organizations besides the kingdoms and the council, but I'm sure you'll learn about them in your own travels. This old man needs some sleep, so be a good lass and go bother another old-timer. I'll be able to talk about the wars another time. And with that, that is a basic description of the world of Leo, otherwise known as the Legends of Sovereign. And without further ado, that is the world I have thrown people in. I will update you guys about the wars later. I still need to fix them up a little bit. I will let you know about the first session, though. The first session consisted of introducing the 3 player characters I managed to get with me, which is Zess, who is supposedly a wizard and uses some dark wizard magic, but his class is necromancer / druid. So you guys should know that at best. We have a rogue bestial named Ralios. Zess is a human, I should say, normally wearing all black. Ralios is a bestial cat, which has been known to be an assassin by most. His name isn't well known, but he's out there. He's quite well at his job. The third player character is a high elf, highly armored guard of Port Yolg in the nation of Sovereign, and he has been a guard captain of Port Yolg for quite some time now. What happened in the beginning of the first session was a flyer was sent out to just about every town in Sovereign, and all the characters were assumed to be in the nation at the time. When they investigated the flyer, it said that there was a special mission that would set them up for life. So, depending on their own reasons, the players decided to investigate, and what happened was the person who sent the flyer demanded the players specifically. They don't know why they know their names, but the person who called the flyer was the lady of the town of Holland, and every other adventurer she called in is assumed to have been brutally slaughtered as negotiations went on upstairs. What happened was each player was given 200 gold and given the tasks of eliminating bandits and taking care of a valuable treasure that the lady needed delivered to her. The players decided to introduce themselves at the tavern and take care of the valuable there. What happened was, instead of taking care of the valuable immediately, they were given to a dark elf named Risha, which was a waitress at the tavern. As the waitress guided them upstairs, it turned out she did not have the item they looked for. The bartender was the one that did have the item, but what she did was she looked into each character's past, and what she saw was to prove that she could trust them, and it turned out she could. What happened afterwards was that she decided to join them, and after deciding to be a foolish woman, she made a horrible decision of saying that she'd pay for all the patrons in the bar as the party ended. That turned out to not be the case, and as the party went down the stairs, and night began to fall, a bar fight broke out to where the party and Risha decided to kill all the patrons that decided to attack them. Everyone else left. Zess managed to use some of his dark magic to make one of the fighters run for his life. As night began to fall and the last bandit was killed, with the guard captain's fist, they introduced themselves as Zess, Rallius, and Thangren Bor, and they decided to spend the night at the tavern. And that is where we leave off. I'm not describing much, simply because it's either not in my memory or it's just not too important that you need to know about it. Should it become important later, it will definitely become important later. You guys will see it in the sessions that come. I will be getting to uploading the first half hour of the first session when I can, and I will see you guys there. So I hope you guys enjoy this D&D campaign as much as I already have, and without further ado, let's get to it, huh?